it's Amanda Lilleyman from Darwin University and the National Environment Science Program Threatened Species Recovery Hub. I'm sorry that I can't be with you at the Shorebird Science meeting today, but I'm currently doing shorebird surveys in Kakadu National Park with Parks Australia rangers and traditional owners. So here I am presenting this video instead, and first of all I'd like to thank my collaborators that are listed here that I've been so lucky to work with over the last few years. In managing the conservation of migratory species, a first step is to examine the relationship between the species and the environment to establish targeted management actions. The Far Eastern Curlew is a globally threatened shorebird that completes a long-distance migration through areas that support some of the highest densities of people in the world. The species has suffered population declines of up to 80% in the last 3 generations. Management of the Far Eastern Curlew involves increasing our understanding of important non-breeding areas by identifying, managing and protecting them. Understanding how this species negotiates the natural and modified environments throughout the East Asian-Australasian Flyway is core to managing shorebirds across multiple geographic and political jurisdictions. So we had a project on our hands, and it was the TheCurlewProject. And part of that project was to catch some Far Eastern Curlews. And for anybody that has caught shorebirds, you'll know that this species is difficult to catch. Here we have our 4 study regions across Australia. In the north, we've got Darwin in the Northern Territory, where I'm based. Just south, but also in a northern tropical climate, is Roebuck Bay, northwestern Australia. Further south in Australia, we've got Moreton Bay, Queensland, with our collaborators from the University of Queensland. And then far in the south, we've got the Western Port study region in Victoria. And here we are, a small team mist netting for the curlew in Darwin, Northern Territory. We put a lot of hours in. We spent a lot of time mist netting. We also did some cannon netting there. And I'll let the results speak for itself. Here's our site in Broome, northwestern Australia, photo by Grace Maglio, and a stunning site in tropical northern Australia where we set out to cannon net shorebirds. Our collaborators from the Queensland Wader Study Group and the University of Queensland spent time mist netting for shorebirds and the Far Eastern Curlew in Moreton Bay, Queensland. They also did cannon netting. And here's the team from the Victorian Wader Study Group, cannon netting in Western Port, Victoria. And we did it. We were able to catch some Far Eastern Curlew. So we caught 22, well, we caught more than that, but we attached tags to 22 Far Eastern Curlews from our 4 regions in Australia. We used a few types of tags. We used the Ornitella Ornitrack GPS GSM tags, which operate on the mobile network. And then we also used some Argos tags from Microwave Telemetry Incorporated. And here's a few photos from our marvellous field team processing the birds, and our great leader, the late Dr. Clive Minton. And here's one of our curlews. This is actually the first curlew we ever caught in Darwin, Northern Territory, and we attached a GPS GSM tag to the bird's back. We attached via a leg loop harness. That was the method of tag attachment for all of our curlews. And here's our study region map again, showing our 4 study sites and the number of birds that we caught and tagged at each of the sites. So in Darwin, Northern Territory and in Western Port, Victoria, we caught 3 birds at those sites, and then Roebuck Bay, WA and Moreton Bay, Queensland, 8 birds at each of those sites. And here is a breakdown of the catching and satellite tracking information of the Far Eastern Curlew in Australia. Note that our catching period was from 2017 until 2019. And that is because it took a lot of time and effort to coordinate all of the catching and tagging across these 4 sites. Okay, so from the birds that we caught, 9 of them were female and 13 were male. 13 individuals, which is 59% of the tagged birds, were tracked all the way to the breeding grounds. And we were able to record complete round-trip migrations between Australia and the breeding grounds or the northern yellow sea for 9 individuals, which was 41% of the tagged birds. A 10th individual completed a round-trip migration between Australia and the northern Yellow Sea and China. We recorded partial migrations for 6 of the remaining 8 individuals, with final location fixes occurring in China, Okinawa and Taiwan. 2 individuals did not migrate out of Australia. The tag for 1 individual stopped transmitting several days after deployment, and the other migrated overland from Victoria to the Northern Territory coast, only to then return to Victoria via Australia's east coast. And that is the bird that was stuck in a cyclone and then actually aborted its migration and cut its losses and then went back south. And here we have all of the migration GPS fixes of our Far Eastern Curlews from our 4 non-breeding locations. The Western Australia birds from Roebuck Bay migrated over Indonesia and the Philippines. Birds stopped in Taiwan, southern China, and then in the Yellow Sea, where they spent some time fattening up for the rest of the journey. The birds then went to southern Siberia to breed. The Northern Territory birds migrated over Indonesia and the Philippines. They then stopped in southern China, Japan, and the Yellow Sea. They bred in southern Siberia, and also one bird bred on the Kamchatka Peninsula. And this bird has now been recorded on multiple migrations going to the same breeding site. The Queensland birds migrated over New Guinea, Japan, and then to the Yellow Sea. They stopped in southern China, Taiwan, Japan, and the Yellow Sea. And then they went on to breed in northern China and southern Siberia. The Victorian birds migrated over New Guinea, Japan, and Taiwan. They then stopped in the Yellow Sea, and then they bred in northern China. So what's next for the Curlew project? Well, there's a big team of us working on a couple of research papers, and we're in the process of writing those up. So some of the results that I have presented today will be reported in much greater detail in some of these research papers, so watch this space. And we will also be providing management recommendations for the species across the migration pathway. I'd like to say a massive thank you to all of the volunteers and people that have helped with this project. We would not have been able to catch the birds and put tags on the birds if it weren't for the effort of the individuals in this amazing Wader shorebird community. So thank you very much, and I hope to share more information with you soon. And once again, thanking everybody that's been involved in this project, including our collaborators from the University of Queensland, the Australasian Wader Study Group, the Victorian Wader Study Group, the Queensland Wader Study Group, and for a generous donation from WaderQuest.